What's going on, everybody? This is Cody, the Home Theater Hobbyist, and today I have something for you headphone lovers out there. This is a headphone amplifier from S.M.S.L. It is the SP200 THX AAA-888 or AAA-888. But for this review, I'm just going to call it the SP200 for short. Now, in this review, I'm going to talk about the overall design and functionality of this box, but I'm also going to give you my thoughts on sound quality. So let's get to the review. The SP200 features THX's AAA technology, which stands for Achromatic Audio Amplifier. This amplifier strives to deliver the highest fidelity with very low noise, distortion, and power consumption. It features a pair of balanced and unbalanced inputs and outputs, a signal-to-noise ratio of 130 dB A-weighted, a frequency response from 0.1 Hz to 500 kHz, and it includes a gain switch. The low setting is plus 6 dB and the high setting is plus 18 dB. It is 6.3 inches wide, 5.9 inches deep, and 2.9 inches tall. It weighs 1.7 pounds and costs $265. Now that you've heard the specs, I want to move on to design. But before I do, I want to say thank you to Apos Audio. They sent me this amplifier for review. If you haven't heard of Apos, they are a California-based hi-fi retailer. They sell things like headphones, amplifiers, DACs, cables, and accessories from brands we know, including Dan Clark, Stax, Topping, SMSL, and many others. So if you want to find out more about Apos products, use those links in the description below. Now let's talk about the design. SMSL has done a great job with this box. It's a rectangular, black, and it has an all-metal casing. On the bottom, it has 4 feet to protect the amplifier itself and the table or desktop on which it sits. This is considered a desktop amplifier. Along the front face, you can see the SMSL logo up top, and there is a 4-pin headphone jack right there, along with a 1/4 20-inch headphone jack there. Next, it has 3 switches that I like. I just like these switches. Just a satisfying click. It's got a power switch. There is the RCA XLR selection switch there, and then there is the gain, low, and high switch there. On the far right is the volume knob. It has a nice smooth turn, and it sticks out far enough that you can get a decent grip on it, so that's a definite plus. Moving around back, as you can see, it has dual 3-pin balanced connections with a pair of unbalanced connections in between the left and right balanced connections. It also has a power adapter for the included 4-foot power cable. Now, we've talked about specifications and we've talked about design, but I don't think I've answered the basic question about why one would buy a headphone amplifier like this one. Well, the first and most obvious reason why you would buy a headphone amplifier is because you have high impedance headphones. And I consider something high impedance if it's over 100 ohms. You're going to want to plug those into something that has proper amplification so you can hear all the sound. You don't have to turn the volume on your player all the way up to even hear a little bit of sound, right? So that's the main reason, or one of the main reasons why you'd want a headphone amplifier. The second reason why you may want a headphone amplifier is because maybe you purchased a DAC or digital to analog converter that plays high-res music, but it doesn't have a headphone jack. You can output to speakers, but it doesn't have a headphone jack for a more private listening session. Well, then you're going to want a headphone amplifier. The third reason to purchase a headphone amplifier like this one is because you want to get better sound quality out of, let's say, your computer. So instead of using your onboard DACs and amplification from your computer, headphone jack and stuff like that, you buy a DAC and a headphone amplifier like this one so that you can truly get that high-res music that you're paying for from Spotify Premium, Tidal, or Qobuz, or services like that. Now let's talk about my experience with the SP200. Remember, this is a headphone amplifier, so it sends power to your headphones, but you will need a DAC or digital analog converter to actually send signal to this unit. So I had to try several different things. The first thing I tried was actually headphones. The Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros is a 250 ohm version. I tried that. I also tried this inexpensive pair of JLab Omnis just because I wanted to try a regular set of headphones. These are like 30-40 ohms. As far as DACs are concerned, I tried the Cambridge Audio CXN V2, which is a nice high-end DAC, and also the DAC in my Panasonic UB820 4K USD player. It has a DAC built in as well. But I also tried this DAC amp combo. This is a headphone amplifier as well from FX Audio. This is the DAC X6. It costs like $65 and you get a DAC and an amplifier in it, so it's on the cheaper end of things. And I wanted to try it with this just to see how a cheap DAC and also the amplification in this box compares to this box. So I am going to rank the SP200 in a few different categories from 1 to 5. 1 being the absolute worst and 5 being the absolute best. The first category I'm going to rank is design, and I give the SP200 a 4 out of 5. SMSL has done a great job with the overall design of this box. It's got a nice metal chassis and it's got decent weight to it. It's relatively small and compact, but it looks really good on the desk. I love the mechanical switches up front. They just have such a nice mechanical feel to them. They click in place. It just feels really nice and good. And you can see there's that little blue LED indicator up front to let you know that the box is on. And the box itself is not exactly a square rectangle. And what I mean by that is the sides themselves actually angle over just a little bit, maybe 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees, something like that. So it kind of goes like in this direction, which is kind of cool, and I think it looks pretty nice. Now, one thing I wish would be a little different about this is I wish the power cable itself was a little bit longer. It's 4 feet long, and I wish it was more like 6 feet long, just because there was a few times when I felt like the cable was just a little short. So I wish they went with a little bit longer power cable, but overall, I think the design of the box itself is good, and I give them a 4 out of 5. Now let's talk features and controls, and I have to give this a 4 out of 5. S.M.S.L has given you all the major features that you want out of a headphone amplifier, including XLR and RCA connections and the ability to select between the two up front. They've also given you a gain switch, low and high, but they could add a medium selection as well, just in case you need that or want that. So that'd be kind of nice to have. Now, one of the things I wish it had was a volume selection with notches. This one is nice and smooth and it feels good to the touch, but I wish it had notches so you could count up from the bottom for your favorite setting. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, you kind of set it and forget it. You can, just plug your headphone in, set it, and then just turn the power on. But if you have multiple pairs of headphones and you want to switch between the two, you could kind of, make a little note that says, for this pair of headphones, I'm 6 up from the bottom or 8 up from the bottom or whatever, right? So I wish it did have notches for that, but that's just a personal preference. Another thing I wish this had was the little locks for the XLR connections. Now, when you put in an XLR cable, it stays in there. It stays in there nice and tight. But I've kind of grown accustomed to having the little push button locks that you have to push to pull the cable out. So I kind of wish it just had it, and that's just a personal preference, but one of those things I wish that it had. But overall, I think S.M.S.L has done a great job with this, and I give it a 4 out of 5 for features and controls. In the sound quality category, I give the SP200 a 4.5 out of 5. I found this to be very, very engaging, and I enjoyed listening to music and watching movies with headphones with this amplifier. When I compared it to the DAC X6 from FX Audio, I found that I enjoyed listening to music more on the SP200 than I did on the DAC X6. And I think that was because, well, for a few reasons. Number one, this doesn't add any color to the sound. It sounds the same as the DAC is playing. So that's good. It's nice and accurate. But it also has great dynamic range. You get high highs and low lows. But it has excellent detail. So bass is nice and punchy like you want it to be, doesn't continue on, it actually stops when it's supposed to stop, and it just makes you feel like you're there. It's very engaging. I also noticed that when you have a good recording and a good DAC, it does excellent. But if you have a bad recording and let's say a bad DAC, it's not going to do so good. It's going to play exactly what is actually intended to play. It's not going to add anything to it. Now, one thing I noticed was that the soundstage is not as wide as some other amplifiers. Music sounds a little bit more intimate. So you're going to have a little bit more intimate soundstage. It's not going to be wide and expansive. So that is one thing that I did notice when listening to this amplifier. But otherwise, I like it, and I got to give it a 4.5 out of 5. The final category I want to talk about is value, and I give the SP200 a 3.5 out of 5. It's $265, so that puts it right into that middle to, a little bit upper end price category for headphone amplifiers. There are definitely some out there that are much more expensive, but there are also some that are much cheaper and also have a built-in DAC, like that FX Audio that I showed you earlier. Now, comparing the SP200 to the FX Audio, this definitely sounds better. It has better dynamic range, a lower noise floor, it plays more detailed, it does all of those things as compared to the DAC X6. So there's definitely value in this amplifier. So overall, I recommend the SP200 from S.M.S.L. This is a great headphone amplifier in that it's small enough to sit on your desk and not be obtrusive. It has great features, great build quality. I'm sure this will last for years, if not decades to come. It's built very, very well, which is a definite plus. But more importantly, it sounds great. It plays nice and accurately. It has excellent dynamic range. And overall, I enjoyed listening to it. Now remember, you will have to buy a DAC to go along with this, but I think this is a great headphone amplifier. So if you want to purchase this, a DAC, or anything else from Apos Audio, use those links in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We'll talk to you next time.